Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys enjoyed the new intro, and I am going to try and get some more different genres of games onto this channel. Probably mainly survival or RPG style games and stuff like that because of Grounded coming out, and I've been enjoying that. But anyways, we're in the Boss 302, we're in multi-class. I'm using the, I'm using the build that Unearthly recommended to me, and I'm using the tune that I feel is most comfortable, so we're at Silverstone as well, in case I didn't say that earlier. And we're just going to go through this race quite easily. Here we are with the pack. So far, pretty standard race. We got a Skyline coming up behind me. Not quite sure if that's a good move on Alex Ghost's part. But anyways, try to give him the good 65 a little bit of room there. On his inside, trying to take it nice and deep. He ends up bumping into me, seemingly forgetting that I am there. I forgive him that time, but either way. Right now, side by side. Looks like the Skyline is being left in the dust. In all actuality, you might, or at least for B-Class, you might be able to get it down to maybe 20-30 pounds lighter if you want to keep the RB26 in there. And I don't think you got an engine swap that can make it where take away PI, so probably wouldn't really be a good choice for B class. I am going off course there. I didn't want to go into anyone. I have a feeling if I would have kept my line, I would have went into Saxtress in the RX-7 there. And of course the good 65, and I think that's a Ferrari. I could be mistaken though. But he takes full advantage, gets around me, going in what is this, Maggots and Beckett's. At least a slow section. And he's going to do battle with the RX-7 and the Supra. And I'm sure these guys are probably wondering why I brought a old heavy muscle car to a rather technical track like Silverstone. I think this is one of the two straightaways it has that's actually good for power. And we got S-Class and A-Class starting to catch up. I'm just trying to keep an eye on my rear view. Try not to get in their way. I end up taking what is a stow? Yeah, a stow. End up taking it a little wider than I normally would like to, but at the same time, I know those guys are faster, so why battle with them? Just let them on through, even though they're supposed to try and get around me. Going into club now, trying to take it as wide as I possibly can. The good 65. Not quite sure what he was doing there, but try giving him some room. I get pushed off the track there. I do try keeping myself on there, but he ends up turning into me or something. I'm not quite sure what happened there. You guys can decide on that one, whether that penalty was justified. It was for an illegal pass, but it is what it is. It is what it is. It's part of racing. Just kind of wish he would have let me back on the track if he could. Who knows? There probably was someone in S-Class just would not let him give any room or anything like that, so again, I'll leave it to you guys, or I probably should go through the replay. I still have it, and I'll edit it in somehow, but either way, down the straightaway, looks like me and the good 65 do have a good amount of speed, seem to be pretty even on it, or even on that, if I could speak today. Words are not easy when doing these voiceovers, let me tell you guys. Speaking into a microphone is a lot harder than you think, especially when you're doing nothing but looking at a screen and trying to commentate over a race. And take a little bit of coffee there. Throat was getting a little dry, but anyways, holding off the good 65, trying to get as far away from him as possible. We got, I think, a Ferrari. Someone's going to have to let me know what the kind of car that is. I'm not quite sure what that is. I want to say Ferrari, but I could be way off on that one. But anyways, going through Maggots and Beckett's quite easily. I did slow down a little bit to let the S-Class car through, but it was still a 10 out of 10 score, so I can't complain whatsoever. And this is where I think the good 65 starts really catching up, due to the fact that I did have to let the Ferrari through and going around Stowe, blocking off nice and easy, trying to just hold my line as good as I possibly can, try to stay away from him as much as I possibly can, trying to catch up to the rest of the pack. And this is where he starts showing to be not so much desperate for moves, but seems to be a little impatient for him. I end up hitting that sausage curb there, end up going off track there. Not what I recommend doing. I end up getting a little penalty for it. That one was justified at least, so. The other one, not too sure. Not quite sure at all. Anyways, slowly but surely catching up. The good 65 still showing to want to be a part of the battle. Even though it seems like through these technical sections, I am getting away from him quite easily. He ended up getting a better corner exit out of the loop there, going in the entry. And now we're at the section where we're pretty much balanced out. So I ended up hitting the brakes a little too late there, ended up taking it a little wide. He did make up some ground on me for that one though. So going around Luffield. Hopefully I pronounced that right this time. Starts really closing the gap. I'm trying to catch up to TB2109 in the Supra, who is riding on the RX-7 driven by Sauxist. I'd have to look at the name in order to really know the pronunciation. But either way, you also got the good 65 right on my bumper, trying to get some pressure on. I'm honestly just trying to run my race, but at the same time, Club was a bit of a eye-opener because he, like I said, I think he just gets a little impatient for moves and all that. So, anyways, getting around Beckett's right now, really closed the gap on the Supra. Good 65, seemingly lost a lot of time there. Seems like I got him on the technical sections, at least from time to time. I could be mistaken on that one because I do make a couple of mistakes in this race. But anyways, going in the Stowe, end up taking this corner a little too wide. Ended up locking up the brakes there. I was trying to adjust them before the race, trying to make it where they don't lock up as I, on the G29, at least the pedal set, there's a little rubber brick on the brake pedal, or inside the brake pedal, I should say. And you're supposed to hit that to, theoretically activate ABS, or at least get the feel for it. And so far, I have not gotten it to where, well, I haven't gotten the brakes adjusted to where I hit that point on the brakes, and that's when the brakes don't lock up still, if that makes sense. What I'm trying to say is I'm trying to make it where I have to really force the brakes to lock up. But anyways, going through Village in the loop, going in the entry, really closing the gap on the RX-7 and the Supra there. Slowly but surely catching up. The good 65 really losing time as of right now. Not quite sure what their game plan was, but it seemed like they were taking a really weird line going through that section. Again, it could have just been them being impatient for moves, trying to get around any way they possibly could. But either way, slowly but surely getting onto the Supra's bumper there. Trying to really get around them. Closing the gap as good as I possibly can. Trying to get into third place. Trying to also get around, or trying to make it to where there's another car between me and the good 65, because I'm getting tired of this battle at this point. Because, let's face it, battling the same person that's not your friend does get a little boring from time to time. Going into Maggots and Beckett's, trying to hold my line as best I possibly can. Supra's hitting the brakes in weird spots, or at least spots that I'm not quite used to seeing people hit the brakes at. Or, I guess in places that I normally wouldn't hit the brakes at. But either way, going around hanger straight, trying to close the gap as much as I possibly can. He's leaving room, but hesitating to leave that gap open. He ends up taking a defensive line and end up getting pushed off the track once again. Had to kind of shove my way back on. Going into club now. End up locking the brakes once again. He ended up tapping the back end of my car. Almost spinning me out. He seems to have really gotten the worst end of that deal. And it looks like just a lot of bumping and rubbing there. Not quite sure if that would be racing or if a penalty would be or should be in place there. I'll let you guys decide on that one, as always. Anyways, I end up going into him. He took the corner a little tighter than what I was expecting, so I ended up losing a lot of time to it. The good 65, he ends up really taking advantage of that, getting around me, and now he's going to do battle with that Supra. Getting around him. I try to do the same, going on the outside, though. End up, I want to say there was a little bit of Forza glue there. It seemed like he was just rubbing up against me a little too much. But either way, get around him, end up having to lock up brakes there to avoid too much of a collision with the good 65 there. Didn't want to kick him off the track just yet. And by just yet, I mean I don't like kicking people off the track. It's really not good racecraft nor good sportsmanship. But luckily, we both got around the Supra, driven by TB2109. I was not too happy about the bumping and rubbing. Again, I want to say that was just racing incidents, but at the same time, it's never fun to have your paint scratched up. So anyways, I'm trying to catch up to the good 65 in this section at least, because I know I have him here at least. It's just on the straightaways where we seem to be a little evened out. It seems like we got a good amount of speed, or the same amount of speed, somewhere around there. Although I think I got a better exit than him going through Maggots and Beggots, because I did start catching up to him there. Going in the Stowe, dropping it in the third, trying to kind of figure this section out. I didn't really get too much practice time on the track. But going into club now, locked up the brakes once again. At this point, just trying to put pressure on the good 65, trying to get him into making a mistake. Because I have a feeling once I get around him, catching up to the RX-7 shouldn't be too much harder. But that's also in theory. And it was going around Abbey and Farm Curve here. I did take Abbey a little too fast. Ended up losing a little bit of time. The good 65 constantly on the defensive line there. I'm not quite sure what his plan was for that. Had to straighten out going into the loop. Ended up getting a really bad corner exit there. Going through entry. Get my line there though. So I was able to start closing the gap a little bit on the good 65. But going into Brooklands, mess up there a little bit. End up losing a little bit of time. Team Manu ended up hitting the pits. And he's still in the lead. That guy either really plays the game a lot, or at least multi-class, or he's got the meta cars out and just somehow making them work. But either way, trying to catch up to the good 65 at this point, just simply due to the fact that there's sections here that I should be able to get around him on, but when it comes to top speed, that's when it starts becoming a big questionable. Again, I don't know if we're faster than another, or if it just comes down to a driver's battle, seeing who could hit their shifts better, getting the most amount of horsepower out of their motor, and getting it onto the track. And at this point, the Supra is long gone. We don't have to worry about him, so slowly but surely closing the gap and turning it into a three-way battle. At least hopefully. Going around Stowe, slowly but surely closing the gap on him, going into the club, or not the club, it's just club on the map that I've got up. and trying to keep my good corner exit, avoiding that curb. That way I don't go off course and get another penalty. 23.8, not bad. I think that's new personal best for B class in this car. I could be mistaken though. But now right on the back of the good 65. Just trying to close the gap as much as I possibly can. Trying to leave room where I can. Don't want to cause too much of a collision. Getting the best exit I possibly could. Going out of the loop. Almost getting side by side with them. Trying to go into entry. Trying to avoid going into them, but I end up doing it anyways. I was expecting him to take it a little wider. Luckily, it didn't mess with the race too much. But going into Brooklyn and Luffield, end up locking up the brakes there. We end up getting really close to one another. Do a little switcheroo. I end up keeping the defensive line. Trying to get a good exit. He bumps into me. And at this point, I just decide to get on out of here. Trying to avoid him as much as I possibly can. A lot of bumping and touching in this race. Quite a lot. And whether it's my fault or not, you guys decide, because I'm not going to be biased about that stuff. But anyways, going into Maggots and Beggets, now I just got to try and catch up to the RX-7. I had a little bit of a video glitch there. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Here you got the good 65, trying to close the gap as much as I possibly can. I'm just trying to run my race, doing what I can to catch up to the RX-7. And of course, the 65, or the good 65, I should say, not making that easy. He's trying to put as much pressure as he can. And if he were smart, we'd be bump drafting. But it's, like I said, he seems to be hell-bent on making moves. So his impatience is probably going to cost him a little bit. Going into the club now, and this is where you're going to see it, because he's trying to go for, well, he ended up getting on the gas a little too soon in my opinion, trying to get around me, and it ended up costing him more than anything. And it was 23.5. Could have been a really good lap, but it was dirty. I'll just have to keep that in mind. Anyways, the RX-7 messes up going into Village and the loop. I see my chance. I end up hitting that little curve there. Going into the loop, the good 65, trying to take a really weird line through there. Ends up backfiring on him. And at this point, I'm just trying to catch up to the RX-7 while leaving the good 65 behind. But again, I'm not quite sure if he's going to make it quite that easy. Going into Brooklands, end up really going into game mode, trying to catch up to the RX-7. Luffield, he's taking it really tight, which, whether that's a smart move or not, I don't know. But either way, it worked for him for a little bit. We got S-Class coming up in whatever that car is. Never could quite figure out what it is, but I know it's the meta car for S-Class. That much I could tell you. Going around cops right now. It looked like Saxtris ended up really messing that one up. Seems like he was either making room for S-Class, or I put enough pressure on him to make a mistake. I have a feeling it's more or less just him making room for S-Class. Going around Beckett's there. Really closed this gap. Now we're on the Hangar Straight, where the power might be able to truly make a difference. You can see the time slowly but surely going down. And of course right there it kind of plateaued, but either way, going into Stowe, taking it as tight as I possibly can. Really closing this gap, getting right on his bumper. We got, I think, S-Class coming up. Yep, they got to back off to let us through because we're having a little bit of a battle. Small love tap from the RX-7 there. Not enough to really cause a too much of a scene. And at this point, GT40 ends up messing up. I end up going into the RX-7. I didn't expect him to be right there. That one I probably should have gotten a penalty for. I keep defensive, forcing the good 65 to back off, but I end up missing my braking point as well. He ends up going off course. I end up getting understeer, kicking him off the track. And of course I get a warning for it, which probably should have been a full-on penalty. And we're going to go ahead and finish this race in 3rd place due to the penalties. With that being said, guys, pretend I said something corny here to get a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. See y'all later.